Hello and welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei, and today I've got Michael from the Referral Marketing Guru. Michael, how are you going?
Yeah, doing fantastic. Thank you, Alexei. Great to be with you.
Thanks for having the time to jump on our podcast. There's lots of people who would definitely benefit from this. Now, strategic partnerships. This is one of the topics I specifically like myself, and even though I haven't got a particular template, if you like, to approach this, I was actually very interested when I saw an email from Michael, and after attending his masterclass, he was immediately a person I wanted to interview. So that's why we got Michael on the podcast. So Michael, tell us about your story and how you got into the whole referral marketing guru, because obviously there's quite a bit of a story behind it. And as I understand, you were a agency owner at some stage as well.
Yes, it's been, I reckon, a before life and after life. So the before life is like before 2009. Primary school teacher, elite level basketball coach, and that was pretty much what I did. Loved being able to coach National League, being part of 2 Olympic preparations with the Australian women's team in 2000, 2004, was over at University of Hawaii, University of North Carolina. So I always just thought coaching elite sports and teaching was what life was going to be. 2009, came back after a stint in the University of Hawaii. Life changed with a few family members not being well and needed to come back. So continued teaching, and within months, I just give me my kids and leave me alone. Tell me to turn up to staff meetings so I can hear your voice, and that's where we had a problem. So it was either you have to do that for the next 40 years of life, or go do something else. So very quickly, I just started small little businesses, and I sort of tend to go that they grew without any strategy, without any knowing what I was doing. There was an awful lot of luck, but you'll see with each of these businesses there's a common theme, and that's how we became really good at knowing how to be able to leverage into other people's networks to be able to grow a business, which in essence is all strategic partnerships, referrals, networking is really all about when you understand it properly. So the first business was a little tutoring business. We provided tutors to people's homes. Within 4 months, we'd grown to 180 tutors that would see 370 clients, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. And bigger fish came along and said, hold on, we want this, and took it from us, bought it from us. Again, I just sort of knew, well, whereabouts were the families? They were at sporting associations. They were at after-school activities. They were at schools already. That's where our people were, and that's where we needed to go to be able to team up with those people to be able to grow our clientele. After that, we went into a little health product. It was an antioxidant from the pine bark forest of France somewhere, a little purple powder that was huge over in the US and Europe. Not out here at all. I went, great, I'll bring it out here and I'll go sell this purple little powder. So again, it wasn't, I knew nothing about health or fitness or wellness at that particular stage. So just went to every personal trainer that I could find and sold them on, hey, here's a way that you could use this to be able to add more money to your PT training sessions. So within a matter of about 6 months, grew to about 400, a bit over 400 personal trainers that would on-sell that. So again, it was very much about how do you just find people that already had the clientele that you were after and find this win-win situation with them. Did exactly the same then with a mineral makeup beauty range, and just went into hairdressers and skincare clinics and beauticians and makeup artists. And you can start to see there's a bit of a pattern along here that everything comes through leveraging into other people's audiences. Then someone else comes along and says, oh, can I buy that? And I go, yeah, sure, I'm not attached to it. And we move on. So I did exactly the same with the marketing agency. We helped small businesses with a range of different marketing. So again, it was like, well, who has all of these people? And our big hit with that was when we ran into someone who ran Amex Business Card, the business division for Oceania and Asia. asked us if we'd run a webinar for them. I said, yeah, I've run webinars before with like 10, 20, 30 people who would normally turn up. Nearly 7,500 people turned up on that and got thousands of clients within the sort of the next 60 days. So the whole way through, we became really great at just going, how can I leverage into someone else's audience? Because in essence, that's what marketing is. No matter what you're doing marketing-wise, you're either paying to leverage into someone else's audience, Google ads, Facebook ads, sponsorships, etc., or you're finding win-wins to be able to leverage into someone else's audience without having to pay. In essence, it's either path A or path B. And I think most people don't realize that to be able to leverage into someone else's audience without having to pay is nowhere near as difficult. It's really just a change of thinking. And most people, I suppose, are brought up in business to do everything themselves. And I've just got that complete opposite way of thinking to go, I don't want to do anything myself. It's so much more fun when you're doing stuff with other people. And that's very much been the way of thought. Fast forward, we've had Referral Marketing Guru since 2013. It's the 7th business, sold 6 along the way. And at the moment have an amazing 10-year-old girl who is very good at the moment in making state athletics, state swimming, rep basketball. So now I'm going back into my elite coaching days again. So I feel like I'm coming full circle.
That's all right. Well, that's awesome, mate. I mean, as long as you feel like you're progressing towards your goals, mate, this is music to my ears. Overall, I think you've just sort of touched on so many different aspects. But when I started my business, my mentor at the time said, try to find businesses that are not in competition with you and have the same client. And if you connect with them, that's really what's going to yield the results. And, surprisingly enough, hanging out with the right people has sort of worked out quite naturally. But I do find quite a lot of people do a ton of networking. They go to various events and so on, but the whole strategic partnership doesn't quite work out. So where do you think people are failing when it comes to, forming those strategic alliances? And I know you've got a bit of a framework and we'll talk about it separately, but in terms of failures, where do you think people are failing?
People don't go to networking events to network to create partnerships. People go to networking events to sell their stuff. And there's the number one mistake. Most people, when they talk to other people, are not curious enough to be able to sit in the conversation and find out about the other people and to just ask questions and then come up with goodness knows what. Their intention always when they speak to someone else is, how can I get you to buy my stuff? Because in essence, that's what I really am desperate in need of. So that tends to be why most people will fail with strategic partnership. They don't have, it's not in their frame of mind. It's not how they're actually thinking. But I sort of got taught a real long time ago that it's like, how do you become the hub? That if someone says your name, they go, oh yeah, they know everybody. And when you've got that way of thinking, then you're always going to be looked after because everybody will want to help you because there's this simple rule in life. The more people you help, the more people will remember and will want to help you back. But unfortunately, I go, too many people, or in fact, probably 99% of people, whenever they get into a conversation with someone else, their focus is more around how might I be able to sell my stuff to you, not how might we be able to do goodness knows what into the future.
Absolutely. And so that our listeners can understand better, I mean, for a lot of people, strategic alliances could be a whole new ground. And, there's obviously many ways to look at forming these referral partnerships, if you like. Can you give us an example for a small business owner, let's say, a personal trainer, as to how they could form a strategic alliance and who they would be targeting?
Yeah, good. So the first thing that any type of business needs to do is just simply ask themselves, hey, this is who I sell to. So I sell to, and I'll use a physio just because I was talking to them the other day, so it's fresh in my head. And they're like, okay, our people are 50 years plus because in essence, yes, we help them with their pain, but we've got them this strength gym membership that we put them onto so they keep turning up to our physio every single week on their strength membership. So we target sort of later year people. Oh, perfect. You know your person back to front and off by heart. So if you simply just go, my people are business owners, well, that's too wide. Like there are so many opportunities that in the end, you're going to get none because you don't really know where to go. So you've got to be really tuned in to you look at your clients right now and go, what's the pattern? Like who really are our clients and who do I want to get going forward? Because once you understand that, you can now just ask the question, where else do these people hang out? Where else do they buy from? Where else do they go? So in the physio's case, it was like lawn bowls, tennis clubs, maybe there's other health professions. Maybe they're senior citizen groups. They're doing bingo. They're doing dancing. Like there's all these places now, once you ask yourself that question, where else do they hang out that you might be able to come up with? Now, take that you're a business-to-business type of thing, and you can operate anywhere within your country, even anywhere in the world. That's fine, but you've got to still think about it the same way. So you go, okay, the people who I really help are dentists, and we help them with their marketing. Okay, perfect. Where else do the dentists hang out? What publications do they read? What trade shows or conferences do they go to? How do they keep up their professional development? So when you start asking those sorts of questions, now you can start making a list of all the places that you've got to go and discover where are these places, what exists. So that identify piece at the very beginning is just so crucial for you to start then coming up with different thoughts and ideas to know then, is there a bowls club here? Is there a tennis club? Is there a dentist association? Do dentists need to get professional development points? How do they get professional development points? What's the publication that they're always going to? Who are the people who are also helping them in other things that I don't cross over with? So I feel like that's the question that most people either miss out on or don't ask to begin with, that really then makes it hard to go, hey, where should I be going to? And then that's when the creative mind can just start going and exploring and using Google to see what it can come up with.
Absolutely. Well, look, if you look at the overall types of business that are sort of referring the work, you'll always find that qualified referrals are working within a very defined target market obviously works quite well. If you compare that to leads coming through off your website and so on, sometimes it's a bit of a hit and miss, but often people obviously compare your referrals and your cold leads and so on and so on. But yeah, what you're talking about is completely another level. I can certainly see the power of that. So do you want to tell us about the framework that you developed? Because I think defining a profile is really just the first step within your framework. Do you want to just give us a brief overview?
Yeah, perfect. So there's four things. Let's just go through those four, and if you can do those four, you're in front of everyone else already. So identify is the first thing that needs to happen. So by the end of that, you should just have not specific people. Like if I use ourselves, we help service professionals to be able to build strategic partnerships, to be able to get more referrals, to be able to leverage into other people's networks, to be able to grow their business. Really simple, service professionals. So I can then go, okay, so where do these service professionals hang out? Some of them need to work with RTOs to be able to get points every single year. People like architects, they need to work with an RTO, financial planners, accountants. Now, what trade shows do they go to? What other types of associations do they belong to? What groups, where do they go networking-wise? How did they bring people into their world? So when you start thinking about all of that, I can now start writing down dentist conference, accountant conferences, whatever publication, this particular networking group, and away I can go. Once I've done the identify part, the next part is ask. And I think this is the part that people just don't do because they simply don't value the time and therefore put the time aside to do that piece. And it's just simply asking people who do have this, from what you can see, do have the same type of network and seeing do they actually want to do something together. Like if you don't ask, you don't know whether they do or they don't. And the response doesn't matter. That's probably why a lot of people don't ask because they're so attached to, I hope I get a yes. What happens if they say no? What happens if they just don't respond? Who cares? Because you should be asking 10, 15 people a day until you have lots of partners. Like I sort of chuckle, and I shouldn't, but I do, when people are, oh yeah, I've got 2, 3, 4 good strategic partners. They're perfect. Why don't you have 200? And that's pretty much the response I get. Like, what? Why two? Well, why would you not want to have more? Because if I had 200 strategic partners, and that's not hard to manage really, then every couple of months we could do stuff together. If you've only got 2 or 3, you're bugging them every couple of weeks to do stuff. Right? The relationship will fizzle out and die. Okay? Because they're running their business too, and they don't want to be hearing from you every 2, 3 weeks saying, hey, would you mind helping me with whatever it is that you need help with? So you need minimum 50 in my strategic partner circle. Okay? Obviously, it's something that we do, but if I was to look at my strategic partner list, right now it's just under 400. Right? And I have 400 good relationships. I know the things about them. I'll send them messages, but I also know that every single day I'm just reaching out and seeing how they're doing and seeing if I can help them with anything. And I might just pick 5 people a day. And I know that's just one of the things I've got to do every day. I'll come to that part afterwards because we're still in the setup part. So you've got to identify and you've got to ask. How do you ask? Well, it could be just as simple as I found Alexei on LinkedIn and can see that he helps service professionals with their marketing, with their digital marketing. I don't do that. We've got service professionals. I don't know if Alexei does anything to do with referrals or strategic partnerships or what we do, but I'm not going to unless I talk to him. So I might then send Alexei a message and just simply go, hey, Alexei, not sure if you're interested or not. I'm just looking for a handful of new strategic partners, people that we might be able to refer to and be able to help promote. Is that something you're interested in and worth talking about? And Alexei can either say yeah or no. I don't care because I'm sending that same message to another 10 people that day too. Because just because you ask and they say yes doesn't mean it's going to work out. The third stage in that is conversation. You've got to, after he says yes, Lexi goes, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Perfect. Hey, find a time that best suits. Let's jump on Zoom, spend 10 minutes, and let's explore this more. So you might get to this and find out then deeper around what Alexei does and who he is and how he does it, and you just might go, yeah, wow, I really want to do something with this person. Or you might go, done. I don't want to do anything with this person. You don't know until you've actually been able to speak with this person. In the conversation part, I sort of have 5 ticks that I'm looking for. The first tick I actually want is, do we have the same mindset and values? Because if we don't have the same mindset and values, it's not going to be fun. Like, the conversations are going to be hard. The worst thing is when you see that person's name come up either on your phone or in an email, and what do they want? Well, that's not a great strategic partner. Right? So you've got to have the same mindset and values. I actually then want to talk about what sort of networks they have. I want to make sure that I can help them because we've got the network that they want and they've got the network that we want. So we want to make sure that we've got networks that we can actually help each other. I actually asked myself, do I think this will be fun? Because if it ain't going to be fun, it ain't worth doing. Like, doing things with your partners you should be looking forward to it. Like, it's the part of my day that I love to just be able to reach out to one of our partners and just say, hey, what have you got coming up at the moment? Is there anything I can do to be able to help you? And hopefully you're also noticing here just my way of thinking. It's not about what are you doing for me. The more people you help, the more people are going to help you. It's really simple. But that's the change of thinking that needs to happen. Happens down the track. So we had identify, we had ask, we had conversation, and the last one is create action plans with your partners. I think the reason why this fails for the majority of people is they go and they talk, and then they all sit there twiddling their thumbs, hoping that someone's going to do something. Right? Now, if you're relying on a partner to be able to ask a particular question, get into a conversation for you, listen out for one of their clients to happen to go, oh, I need a insert whatever it is that you do, and then they remember, oh, well, I've actually got someone to be able to help you. You're going to be twiddling your thumbs for a long time. So you've got to find one thing to be able to do to be able to help each other straight away. So that might be, have you got a masterclass coming up that I could promote for you? Have you got a video coming up? You've got your book launch that will be happening sometime probably later this year. Find something to be able to do that you could help that other person to get more exposure. Because in essence, that's all strategic partnerships are. I help you get exposure, you help me get exposure, and because of this transfer of credibility, me telling my people, hey, this is something that's really worth checking out, go have a look at it. It's a transfer of credibility into someone else's network, which is really all referrals and strategic partnerships are. That's all it is. So I think one of the biggest problems is most people have this ideal of what is a referral from a strategic partner, and it's this level 10 referral where they've pretty much done the deal for you. No. A referral is simply someone I know introducing me to someone I don't know that has the pain point that I solve. That's it. Right? So when you can do an action plan for someone where you share something of theirs, you promote something of theirs, you introduce them to your network, for anyone in your network that then goes, oh, well, in fact, that could be helpful for me. And then they go check that out. That's a referral. Someone I know introducing me to someone I don't know who has the pain point that I solve. Okay? So if you're not constantly creating action plans, then in the end, you're going to sit there twiddling your thumbs, doing nothing with each other. So that's the simple framework to be able to work through. Identify first, then you've got to be simply asking every single day. You've got to get into conversations to know if people are worthwhile being strategic partners or not, and create action plans. Now, most of the time, you're not going to know in the conversation whether they are going to be a great strategic partner or not. It's not until you actually do something together that you get to work that out. Because if we were to do something together, it's like, great, how's the communication? Do they follow through? Was there results at the end of it? They're the actual things which really determine then, does this person become part of my partner whiteboard? And that's what we call it as for our clients. You've got to build your partner whiteboard. Okay? But you've got to go through this first part to then be able to get people onto your partner whiteboard that you want to do things with on a regular basis.
Mate, this is absolute gold. I think, you've really described and made it so simple, but in reality, all it really takes is exercising the system in order to understand the flow of it. I think it's absolutely gold. And for those listeners thinking, how does Michael do this on such a scale? You run a masterclass, and that's the way you actually are able to ask and start a conversation with a lot of the people. Do you want to just tell us about that masterclass and how you conduct that?
Yeah, certainly. So each month we run a masterclass. It might be around how to use strategic partners in your business. It might be how to get client referrals. It might be how to utilize LinkedIn to generate new clients. It's stuff that we do for our clients and we teach to our clients is what the masterclass is always about. Now, for our strategic partners, that's what they're always promoting for us. Now, if I only had a handful of strategic partners and I went to every month, hey, Alexei, would you mind promoting this? Hey, Alexei, would you mind promoting this? Hey, Alexei, would you mind promoting this? I'm going to kill the relationship. But if I only ask Alexei maybe 3 times a year because I've got all these other people that I can ask also, then I'm not going to kill the relationship at all. But I also ask by simply going, hey, Alexei, is there anything I can do for you right now? Because the law of reciprocity then says, Alexei will say, and, hey, is there anything I can do for you right now?
Naturally, yeah.
It'd be great. We've got a masterclass coming up in a couple of weeks. Love if you wouldn't mind promoting that to your people. So if you've got, as we call, an attraction tool, and that's part of what we do with our guys is to be able to help people create their monthly event and then be able to fill it through strategic partners, through prospects, through event software that we've got, then it makes it really easy for you to be able to manage your strategic partners. So for us, that masterclass gets filled by the 3 ways that we do for everybody else. And strategic partners are a big part of that, where we might have 10 to 12 strategic partners each month, share it out, invite their networks to it. If the topic hits an accord with their people and they go, oh, pain point of mine. I'd like to learn about that. Perfect. They're going to come along, and now we get introduced to a whole bunch of people that we didn't know previously.
That's awesome, mate. I love it. And yeah, I was just taking notes as you were speaking. Even though I heard you speak, obviously last week, yeah, just a few things, definitely resonated. And I think overall, I've been a member of a system called BNI. No doubt you would have heard about them. Started dealing with BNI in about 2010 and just basically finalized things last year due to the fact that we had a baby girl born. I couldn't commit time-wise, but I can see how the whole BNI concept worked really well for me from the 80-20 perspective, where only 20% of people in the room were really the ideal people to do business with. And this really, I think, falls into, the flow of what you're describing, because essentially in the end, it's more about that action plan. Because if you don't align with everybody, you really struggle to have an action plan. Let's say you do your, one-to-one meetings with the people and really get to know their business and so on. But in all honesty, there's only so much you can really focus on. And if you run a business that's growing, it's obviously much easier to group things as well. So finding alliance partners instead of just anyone as a referral partner is really a key strength right there. No doubt you're familiar with BNI, I would imagine.
Yes, I had the pleasure of starting numerous Sydney CBD chapters over a decade ago now, and still know a lot of regional leaders. And for people in business, I think it's a great starting point to be able to go out there where everyone at least has the same way of thinking in terms of how do we help other people. I think it really can help people get that way of thinking, that givers gain philosophy and thinking. But I get where people go, oh, it's too rigid or it's too structured or I've got to turn up every week. That's what makes things work, because you're actually forced to build relationships with the other people. And if you don't build relationships with strategic partners, no matter where they are, whether you do it yourself or through a group, then people aren't going to remember you. And if they don't remember you, they're certainly not going to talk about you or bring you business. It's probably the downfall for a lot of people is they get just caught up in their world. And as soon as you're caught up in your world, imagine if your partners are caught up in their world, well, unfortunately, no one's passing business to each other and the relationship fizzles out and dies.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, majority of people listening to our podcast are established businesses that are really looking for ways to do things better, really to fine-tune their business and, improve where they can. I think, you've provided a whole new direction as to how to, market themselves through strategic partnerships. Have you got any other tips for those established businesses, particularly the trades? Because we do have quite a few trades that we work with that could potentially, grow their business based on the concept of strategic partnerships and, just a quick win or low-hanging fruit, if you like.
Yeah. I think anytime you've got a business which runs sort of, as I call, in an area. So the trade, for example, let's pick a suburb. You're on the Gold Coast. You're an electrician on the Gold Coast. Well, all of a sudden now, if you go 10 kilometres that way or 10 kilometres this way, that's sort of where your people are that you want to service. So then sort of go, well, if I'm residential and I'm looking to get into the family home, where do those family people exist? So straight away, my head would go sporting clubs, schools, after-school activities, because that's where the families are. Right? So that's where I would straight away go. Of course, other trades also. So if you're an electrician, I should have a plumber, I should have a handyman, I should have a painter, I should have a builder. It's like you're creating your own little power group. BNI uses that phrase, power groups. It's like you've got to create your own. Think about the people who have your clientele, who offer a different service to what you do, but they get into exactly the same business or household, and create your own little power group where you're the hub. Because imagine if you're the electrician, and you go, great, I've got a plumber, a builder, a painter, a carpenter, a landscape gardener, and every month, you guys, let's come together for like an hour and let's talk about how we can help each other. Now, you've got like 5 other salespeople now out there for you every single day, going into the same places that you want to go into. That's what strategic partners are. It's like building this sales force without having to pay salespeople. So when you think about it like that, it's worth putting in time and effort to be able to build those relationships.
Awesome, awesome. And I do like that example because, yeah, a lot of the time, specifically the trades, they do sort of get too hung up or too dependent on high pages or Google ads or something else. And as a result, things may become really, really expensive because, hey, everybody else is jumping in exactly the same source because it's easy. And what I also like about strategic partnerships, because this obviously requires a degree of personalization, and also there's a degree of complexity with the actual starting to the process. Like what you described is simple, but I think getting people to start, working on strategic partnerships is a bit of an effort. So, mate, absolutely love the concept. So, I mean, there's got to be some questions that people are asking on a regular basis. And, I like to look at the questions from the frequently asked question, but also should have been asked questions. And, from my website background, this is one of the things I often recommend to clients. Like, hey, what are the things that people are not asking you in relation to your business? So I've got the same one for you, mate. What are the people, most people ask you about strategic partnerships and, what are they not asking that they should be asking about?
I think most the common question is just who could be my strategic partner, and generally when you ask yourself where else do my clients hang out, you can start coming up with strategic partners and at least the industries that you should be going and getting into. Probably the question that's not asked that needs to be asked is more so around how do I come up with action plans? Because people get stuck in there. I'm really big in this neuroscience. Your limbic brain is your feeling brain. It doesn't understand words, but it's very feeling based. But it actually controls all human behavior. The other part of the brain, where most businesses are for the majority of their day, is that cortex brain, the logical brain, the analytical, the rational brain. If you're in that part of the brain, you're not going to come up with great action plans because you're more worried about the outcome rather than just exploring and having fun. Now, I could do stuff with Alexei. I've got no idea what we could do. And it doesn't matter. I don't need to. All I've got to simply do is just be willing to go, hey, here's some of my thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts. And then you keep bouncing, and you come up with something. There is no right or wrong in what you do with your action plan. And I think that's the big thing that people need to understand, because then you're going to go and do it more often. Because the reason why you don't do it is you're afraid you're going to get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. Yeah. Just make stuff up. Right? And when people hear me say that, they're like, what do you mean just make stuff up? It's my business. I can't just make 100% you can. Make stuff up.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's a good advice. I like to look at the personality profiles when I meet business owners, and I use a system called Wealth Dynamics myself, and I've built my business around that. I think that's the one thing that really helps me identify people who are creative or basically more numbers oriented and so on. And that's what I personally use to make conversations with people around, I guess, the strategic partnerships, because you'll find typically people, either are introverts, extroverts, and the introverts are typically the numbers oriented people. And then you're going to find people who are either very creative or very analytical. And if you can briefly identify who you're dealing with, a lot of the time the conversation goes a lot smoother. But that's just my approach, and Wealth Dynamics is the tool that I use. Are you sort of using any personality profiling tools, or is there a way for you to sort of pick as to who does what?
I think it's just a lot of practice and a lot of conversations, and I sort of read and understand people quite well.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the skills that sometimes is difficult to teach, and there's no real formula to it. But I think you're right. It's just about really asking the people and having those conversations, and through there you'll understand whether that person is the right fit for you or not. Yeah, great.
Spot on.
Now, in relation to the Referral Marketing Guru, I mean, how can people find more about your business and yourself? What's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, probably the best way is just jump on michaelgriffiths.com.au. Pretty much from there, you'll go down as many rabbit holes as you choose to. And follow us on our socials, YouTube channel. Podcast comes out every single week. Always information throughout the week to be able to help you grow your business through partnerships, through your networks, through referrals.
Great. And I'll make sure to put a link at the bottom of this podcast. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, check it out. If you're going through all the other media, Spotify and whatnot, it'll be in the description as well. And with your masterclass, you do that once a month, you said, right?
Yeah, correct. michaelgriffiths.com.au/masterclass. And that will always take you to whatever's coming up next.
Yeah, well, I attended your masterclass, and I thought that was a absolute, best way I could spend 45 minutes to learn about what you do. And even though I was familiar with the overall strategic partnership as a concept, I didn't really have much of a structure. So anyone looking for something that wants to explore further, I highly recommend checking it out. Michael, thanks very much for finding the time to jump on our podcast. I'm sure people listening right now would definitely reach out because, mate, you can potentially provide some very simple steps to change someone's business, mate. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, and great being with you, everyone.